Hey cycling community, this is Steve Brusis. This is episode 2 of How the Greek Does It. Now I'm going to be giving away some secrets here. If any of you have ever ridden with me for any ride that was longer than 4 hours, you may have, after the first couple of hours, seen me go into my pockets and pull out one of these little Ziploc bags full of pills. And I start at 2 hours into the ride, and we'll take it every hour thereafter. And this again is for rides that are greater than 4 hours. So what's in this little packet of pills? Well, first thing is premium insurance caps. This is basically a multivitamin. It's not necessarily recommended by Ham Nutrition that I include this, but I do. About 7 of these capsules make up a day's worth of recommended multivitamin. And I just put one of the capsules in there. Next thing I have is anti-fatigue caps. So essentially, this cruises around, looks for free-floating nitrogen molecules, and grabs them up. So you may recall from episode 1 where I spoke about whey protein and soy protein, how soy protein is recommended for during the ride and for the ride because it does not have the glutamine that the whey does. So when whey has a lot of glutamine, and it's when it breaks down, it releases nitrogen into the system, which then can promote fatigue. And so this basically scoops it up and takes care of it, so to speak. I also have Endurolites, electrolytes. One of these. So usually, as I was mentioning in episode 1 also, I take one of these an hour, and that's within the pack there. During the hotter days, especially when it gets to climb the Kaiserhot, then I'll take as many as 4 in an hour, and usually I like to spread it out every 15 minutes. Also included are endurance aminos. This contains a number of amino acids that are commonly used when doing longer exercise. So, as I mentioned again in episode 1, Sustained Energy has a soy protein so that it will put amino acids into the circulatory system so the body doesn't have to, after the first 2 hours, break down muscle to get the needed amino acids to create glucose to help keep the blood sugar up to a certain point. So this is included. I also include Race Cap Supreme. This is, among other things, coenzyme QA, which is an important component in breaking down glucose in the Krebs cycle in the mitochondria. So this helps keep certain that I'll have the workers, so to speak, that breaks in the mitochondria factory, that breaks down the glucose, the raw materials, to produce the ATPs, the energy. And this little thing, MitoCaps. What MitoCaps is, it is a recycler of antioxidants. So if there's a free radical floating around, there's various antioxidants, depending on where it is, say a particular job that's needed, that will go and reduce that particular free radical, and now that antioxidant has become oxidized. So this will come in, and whether it's a water-soluble or fat-soluble antioxidant, or was, it will then chemically reduce that particular antioxidant, and so now it becomes an antioxidant again that can go and do some more good work in the body. And the last thing is L-carnosine. Now, L-carnosine is not a Hammer product. Hammer does not make L-carnosine, but they do have L-carnosine, along with L-carnitine, in Sustained Energy. What L-carnosine does is inhibit and reverse glycation. Glycation is the chemical bonding of a sugar to a protein. Glazing in meat is glycation. Not a good thing to eat. At least I don't think so. Glycation, when it's in your body, acts as sludge in a car. So it's a good thing to avoid and to prevent if you can. So this is pretty much what's in this little packet that I take. It costs money. If I wasn't sponsored by Hammer Nutrition, it would cost me more money. So the question is, why do I do it? Does it do me any good? When in the 90s, when I was in cycling, I had a hard time, or obviously I was racing in the 90s. I started early 90s, but I had a hard time going over 60 miles without getting what I call exercise-induced asthma. So often, and almost every ride, and, as it approached 60 miles, my lungs would start to tighten up, up here, and I'd have a hard time breathing. I'd get sleepy because I wasn't getting enough oxygen in, and I would use the weight of my legs to death march in, turn the pedals, and make it home. And we tried different things, tried albuterol, and I took that with me on rides, and sometimes I have to take it 3 times, and usually that 3rd time, because albuterol is basically speed, and I'm just wired after that, and then have a hard time going to sleep. And the benefit that it gave me, the first time I took it, was much greater than the 2nd or the 3rd time I took it. So after that, if I didn't get it in 2, then I just would suffer going in, and usually I was suffering going in. So when I joined Palestinian Gaming as a domestique in 2000, they were sponsored by Hammer Nutrition. So I started reading about Hammer Nutrition. They had a communication method where we could post questions and get answers back, and so I got a lot of information from their main PhD, Dr. Bill, and from there I decided, well, I'm just going to jump in this thing and go with everything and see how it goes. So after that first ride, I went something like 70 miles, no exercise-induced asthma. I'm sure there's a lot more story behind that. I don't have any blood tests that I took to determine causes for that. I do have theories, and I'm always experimenting on myself. Maybe another subject for another episode. But it was almost like growing a new appendage. I could ride over 70 miles, make it home, and not do it in a death march manner, and not have my breathing constricted at all. So I just stuck with it. The things that I read, the things that are mentioned in here, was an added bonus in terms of what it did for me. This, along with supplementation, just the multivitamins, etc., that I take, is I consider a long-term solution. So the breathing problem was one piece of evidence, and the other that I can point to maybe is that I'm 60 and a half years old right now, just about. I'm still racing, still training, pretty much like I want to train. I'm obviously, there's things I can't do that I did before because I'm older, but I'm doing things that many of the people cannot do. Conversely, I have teammates that are within 5 years of my age that don't take any of this, that are much stronger than I. So who's to say? With my money, this is where I'm allocating it, and I believe I'm getting good value from it. So if you have any questions, post them below. You can always jump over, I usually post this over to various groups in Facebook. Come on over to YouTube. Put a comment there. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. Until next time, Yasus.